Looking forward to, hello and welcome. Before Michael speaks, I just want to introduce Michael. It's Michael Chichelski, and Michael has taken over as the new schools liaison contact, so he comes to us with a lot of experience. So thank you and welcome everyone for the year.
Hi everyone, this is Michael Chichelski. As Suzanne says, I've just stepped into the role of Public Relations Coordinator, replacing Adrian Blades. I look forward to meeting all of you throughout the year.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Suzanne, and welcome everybody. And welcome Faye and Deb and Jenny and Peter, and I've got a few people here, Sue, Victoria and Wendy. We actually have 15 regional presidents registered this afternoon, so hopefully the others will join us as the session goes through. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Okay, I'd like to get started so that we can keep on time. What I'd like to cover this afternoon is a couple of very important changes that you will have been hearing about over the last 2 years, but we've finally come to in our 40th year as an association, so it's a celebratory anniversary year for us this year. We've now grown up and we're called the Australian Centre for Career Education. I want to explain a little bit about how that works and why we've taken on this new name. Changes to the CEAV constitution that were passed last week by the members at the special meeting, and talk to you a little bit about the charitable status work that we're going to work towards. I'd like to update a little bit about the calendar of events and some of the outreach work that we've been doing, which might be of interest to your regional groups, and to encourage you to approach the association to help you with some professional learning at the local level. We really like to engage with the regional networks. We did a lot of this outreach work last year, but one of the things that we're very conscious of is that we want to get to our rural and remote people. And if there's some activities or some professional learning that you'd like us to source for you and to try and bring it out to your area, we'd really like to encourage you to do that. We're doing some outreach work in New South Wales very soon, going into a small rural school, and they've approached us to do some work both with their staff and with their students. So there is possibility for us to do that now with a number of staff. So we've been doing some advocacy work, and I want to just bring you up to date with some of the work that we've been doing in that area on behalf of members. And I also wanted to talk about the new initiative that CECA has launched, and we'll be hearing more about this in the coming months. So I thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up. The council's aware of it, and there will be some briefing papers that will be coming out from CECA to give you an idea of how this new registration platform will work. And then, of course, we have our VTAC speakers. So if people are happy with that, we'll proceed. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask me during the session, please put your hand up, and I'm happy to take your questions as we go. Okay. All right, so we've been talking about the growth of the CEAV, and really the change to the structure of the association has come about mainly because of our RTO trading and the fact that we are a registered RTO with ASQA, and we've had a number of our students now that are completing our certificate courses from interstate. So as part of that requirement, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago nearly, the Committee of Management started to look at its strategic planning for 2014 through to 2017. And one of the elements of that planning was to have a look at where we came from, what was the intent in the early years of the CEAV, and we were formed in 1975. Our founding members, of which we lost David last year, which was very sad for all members of the association. And David was integral to the part of that redevelopment in terms of the structure of the association. So we actually went back to our founding fathers, Margaret Bride and Betty Levy, and David and a number of others, John Campbell, and we talked to them about what was the intent of the association in those early days. And it was very much around the role of training and developing a profession as such, as an organisation. The remit was to assist in the development of protocols and training for practitioners to successfully provide career education in schools primarily. And there was a huge industry involvement in those very, very early days. And so we went back and reflected on that. And one of the things that we found was that the association, while its membership base was good and solid, it was actually starting to grow. But the members that were joining us weren't necessarily from schools. We started to see an increase in training organisations that wanted to be part of the CEAV, wanted to train up their own careers counsellors, and we started to see some growth in the CEAV there. When we went down the track, once the professional standards came in and we decided to map our training to those professional standards, it was a logical progression to move forward and develop an RTO arm, particularly with the development of the Certificate for in Career Development Practice, and then of course the Graduate Certificate. So the third component of that, and this is the part where the founders were really wonderful, because they talked to us about the fact that they wanted to go into the community to form a counselling hub, if you like. That was one of the remits of the original association. So over a series of weekends, and it took nearly 6 months of volunteer work from the Committee of Management and from our life members to actually sit down and have a look at where we were heading. And we came up with this new structure. So, and in it are 3 divisions. So the CEAV exists and it's very strong. And we have 3 divisions: the CEAV Incorporated, which is the membership base and all the work we do with our members. We have CEAV RTO Management, and you can see that down the bottom here is the 2nd division. And then the 3rd division is CEAV Counselling Services Australia, and that will be a community-based counselling hub where we provide services to the community, particularly for the underprivileged, the unemployed, the underemployed, and for refugee communities. And our intent is that this careers counselling services component will provide opportunities for our members to work there once they're in semi-retirement mode or retirement mode, but they'd still like to keep their hands into the counselling and to keep their skills current, and we value their expertise. We also would like to use the Careers Counselling Services Hub as a practicum centre for our practitioners in training. One of the difficulties for many people that want to train as careers advisors is finding somewhere to do practicum in the real world. So by designing a counselling services centre, part of our remit will be to provide opportunities for practitioners in training to do 1 or 2 or 3 weeks practicum in the community-based counselling centre. So this is how the association has flourished, and from the early days where we were CEAV Inc., we now have CEAV Training RTO Management, and we have CEAV Careers Counselling Services, our newest entity. And in doing this, we had to seek legal advice. This was not something that the committee did on their own. To establish these 3 divisions required a fair bit of intensive review of the Constitution, which hadn't at that stage been reviewed for quite a number of years, since late 1990s. So it was prudent that at the time we were having these discussions, Consumer Affairs changed the legislation, which was even better. So it allowed us a chance to review and see how we could better shape the CEAV going forward. Now, what we were advised to do by our legal eagles, and our legal firm is Minter Allison, they suggested that we incorporate as an entity, an Australian trading entity, under the name, a new name. And so because we are trading nationally, we needed to take on board the Australian name, and so we came up with the Australian Centre for Career Education. We had a bit of a pool for that name, and that was the one that most of the committee and the members felt was a good name to use. So the CEAV hasn't disappeared. In fact, it's gotten stronger and it's become more robust, and it's also designed to be more reflective of what it was initially set up to do. And we have the 3 training arms. So I'm happy to take any questions on the structure of the association at this time. Those of you that were at the conference in 2013 would know that we passed a new constitution, and in that we restructured. The committee had gotten very, very big. There was something like about 16 people on it, and it had just sort of grown exponentially. It was very, very difficult to have everybody around the table at the one time. It was difficult to pass resolutions. So under the new constitution, we have an 8-member committee of management. 4 of those are executive committee positions and 4 are ordinary member positions. Each of those members is responsible for a subcommittee chair, and that's worked very, very well. And I must give credit here to Judith Clark, our president, who's driven a fair bit of this. She set up those chairs, and this year they've done, well, last year and in 2013 they've done an extraordinary amount of work. Oh, I've just lost my picture. Why am I going to web tour? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so you'll see here that we have an 8-member board, and then of course there's the CEO, and we have staff in each of these divisions at the moment. The counselling services is our smallest division, but we are seeing a little steady flow of people from the community who are coming and receiving some counselling services. So that's been a good start for us. But I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions around the structure of the association at the moment. Okay, well, I'll take the silence that people have understood how we're functioning. Just one thing, currently there's another round of elections, and you would have received in the mail this week, hopefully, the next call for nominations for the CEAV committee. They close on Friday the 6th of March. Now, Judith Clark, who's been our driving president for 3 years now, she's actually in the first year of her second term. Her work at her school at St Monica's College, and you'll know that Judith was a recipient of the Ruth Chapman Award. She has probably one of the best examples of a careers service in a school that we have here in Victoria. Judith is just finding that the work of the association, which has grown so much, and the full-time job that she has is just a little bit too much for her, and she's standing down as president at the next AGM. So the president's position is vacant, and I would encourage any regional president to put their hand up for that if they would like to serve 1 year, because it's a 2-year tenure, and so it's just 1 year for 2015-2016, and then they can reapply again after that. We have the vacancy for vice president this year. It's a 2-year position, and also treasurer is vacant, and Donald Warren, who won the Westpac Award last year, has done an outstanding job. He is standing down, but he may choose to reapply again. And we have 2 ordinary members. So basically the new constitution allowed for half the committee to come up for election every year. And that allows for some continuity of skill and development, but also of knowledge, ensuring that people can carry forward any new initiatives that might have started. So I encourage you to consider nominating for the committee, and of course you need to be a financial member, and to have your seconder also a financial member. Please send your nominations in by Friday the 6th of March. Okay, so I'll just go through what each of the divisions is responsible for. So CEAV Inc. Incorporated is a membership organisation. So just for your own information, we have 670 members. We have over 550 schools that are members, Learn Locals, TAFE, Higher Education, and quite a large range of industry associations have joined us as well. So we have representatives that are working in marketing, that are working in recruitment. We have representatives that are industry bodies that have joined the CEAB to connect with the membership. So it's a great number. And it's been pretty stable for the last 2 or 3 years. We have a very extensive member portal, which I'm sure you've all used, and you'll find that we're constantly updating that with some new resources. And part of Bryony's work this year will be to go through and find additional new resources to build capacity in that portal. We have an e-journal and an e-news. We took a decision a few years ago to actually move the journal online, and whilst it's been very well received, we will still be producing some printed publications because there's a lot of our members that do enjoy a hard copy journal. So we will from time to time be doing a special edition as we did last year with our tribute edition to Marianne. We'll be running a number of extensive webinars this year. There's a series of 4 that our lawyers will be offering called Keeping Out of Court. So you might want to attend 1 or 2 of those, or perhaps plan a regional meeting around one of those webinars, and everybody logs in and has a listen to it. So that's being delivered by our solicitors to look at things such as issues such as vicarious liability, which has come up a few times for some of our members, code of ethics, what does that actually mean, and the legal standing of counselling and what the requirements are around professional standards. We also will continue to deem our new members. In our new constitution, we've built in a requirement that any new member must be deemed at one of the levels of the professional standards and then presented to council for approval. So that's a new feature in the new constitution. We're doing a lot of outreach works to the networks. We're actually going in and delivering parent information nights, working with our members who are new to careers and perhaps need a little bit of support in terms of mentoring. We're doing a fair bit of that work as well. And we're also providing additional counselling services in times of peak need. One of the new features to the CEAB this year is that we are providing vocational assessments. So if your school is interested in conducting the Moresby report, self-directed search, career voyage, any of those type of vocational assessment tools, then we have the capacity to do that as well on behalf of our members at a very reasonable rate to ensure that it's affordable and equitable for all members. And of course, we're putting together the conference, and I'll give the conference a big plug in a little while. It's on December the 8th and 9th. We're continuing with our resource development. I don't know how many of you know, but we've actually got the Year 7 and 8 resource book in the App Store at the moment. It's been quite popular, actually. A lot of people have found it, particularly educators. A number of educators have purchased it, but it's certainly worth having a look at. iDiscover and iExplorer sitting in the App Store. And of course, we've been doing a fair bit of consultancy to both industry, engaging with a range of stakeholders in career development practices as well. Under the RTO, you'll be pleased to know that that's growing nicely. We're registered with ASQA for the delivery of accredited courses nationally. We have 70 students currently enrolled in the Cert 4 in Career Development, Cert 4 in Employment Services, where we're able to offer two qualifications with some additional units within the employment services. Our Cert 4 in Career Development has a disability services focus. So we have a number of students now that are working with young people with disabilities, and that's been a real bonus. Also working with DHS and juvenile justice in that space. So it's been a really great course. It's very robust, and the feedback has been sensational with all students passing to date. You will know that from the 1st of January this year, the vocational graduate certificate is now to be known as the Graduate Certificate in Career Development Practice, and it is CECA endorsed. So we have a healthy group undertaking that certificate as well this year. In our non-accredited training, we have Introduction to Career Development Practice. I think the regional presidents will be pleased to know that we're starting to see a settling down of the turnover of school-based career practitioners. This is something that we've been fighting for a number of years. So with the strong input from the department in training and offering scholarships in career development, we're starting to see that at the beginning of the year it was not unusual for us to be training 190, 100 new career advisors every year. We're now down to around 30 to 40 at the beginning of the year. So that's been a fantastic outcome from the injection of support from the department into providing graduate certificate courses for people in schools to practice as career advisors. We also offer the Advanced Counselling Skills Workshop. This is an intensive updated course, but it is mapped to the graduate certificate. So for individuals that are wanting to just do a study in advanced counselling skills, that's a 2-day program. And of course we have the boot camp for the experienced practitioner to do their strategic planning and leadership development. That was highly successful last year with 15 participants, and that will run again this year as well. In terms of the Careers Counselling Services Australia Limited, this is our new, I called it our new baby. It was birthed right at the end of last year, and so we're a registered company limited by guarantee. The company provides community counselling services primarily targeting the 19 years plus, but we're seeing a number of young underemployed males coming through, not in schools. You know, they're in their late 20s. We try to provide as much as we can through pro bono services to the unemployed. Again, it's an avenue for our semi-retired and retired members to offer counselling to the general public for a fee for service. It's providing the facility, the infrastructure to support that to happen. We'll be establishing a practicum centre, and of course it'll become a model of excellence for a differentiated services delivery model. This will be based around the CIT theory of career development, so the cognitive information processing theory, and it will provide an avenue for practitioners to come and upskill in a variety of different theories. So that's an exciting one. Within the next 2 years we should have this one established and ready to go for members to be part of. Okay, so in order for us to bring in these changes, we did need to change the Constitution. And so with a number of think tanks happening over the last 2 years, as well as with our solicitors' input, the CEAV's purpose is the advancement of education and training for the public benefit, particularly in relation to career development. So this is what the purpose statement in the Constitution states, and it's what we have on our website at the moment. And I think it's important because it really rings home very clearly that our primary focus is education and training for public benefit, for all young people, for adults, and that it's a much more holistic and focused purpose statement than we've had in the past. So why the need for change? Really, across 40 years, the association has changed and grown and matured and really gone back to its roots, because where we were established very early in 75 as a primary source of support for schools, we had an enormous amount of industry input. And so to be a better support for our members, we really needed to look at where we could put our support services and how we could provide the consultancy and the expertise, not just to our schools practitioners, but also to our industry partners. It's a better reflection of what we actually do. One of the key reasons for this growth and the way that we have established ourselves as an RTO and as a counselling service is sustainability. We have reached probably the maximum in terms of membership from within the school sector, and to sustain the organisation into the future so that we can provide quality services to our members. This will help us to apply for charitable status, which will in turn benefit the members enormously through tax benefits and through infrastructure benefits as well. We needed to comply with the CECA standards. We follow those standards quite rigidly. We support them implicitly. They are the best framework that we have to ensure quality assurance and some form of consistency across what we do as a member organisation. And of course, we are really interested in ensuring the professionalisation of the careers industry. So all of these elements helped us to make the decision to shape the new Australian Centre for Career Education based on the three divisions of the CEAB. So our calendar of events this year is quite robust. You'll see that all our Semester 1 programs are currently online. We have full briefings for Keeping Out of Court and 4 webinars for the VTAC briefing. The first will be tonight. Parent conferences, outreach programs, and of course our conference. Now the conference this year is around career development for a changing world. We're going to focus primarily on issues that will be of great importance to your transitioning students: global mobility and STEM careers. So this is the focus, and it's shaping up to be very, very interesting. We've been able to secure now the little robot that is sentient. He's going to hopefully be at the opening ceremony. So it should be a really exciting, dynamic conference. Again, we're holding it at Deakin with our partner, Deakin University, simply because it's a fantastic venue, very easy for people to get to, and it has great space to fit us all in. So I'm encouraging you, you'll be hearing more about that as the year goes on. Some of the advocacy work we've been doing at the federal level, guys, we really lobbied hard for My Future and the Job Guide, but powers to be were against us. The last edition of the Job Guide will roll off the press in May this year. My understanding is that My Future will start to be decommissioned in June. We got a bit of a reprieve from the state government there. What's happening is that they're not actually closing them, they're just not going to maintain them unless we can swing this a little bit more, and there are other people that can have some input there. We did have some input into the ministerial roundtables. In the Sergo represented us there at the federal level, speaking directly with Minister Lay, and she pushed very, very clearly an understanding of career guidance in schools and the need to have that qualified full-time practitioner in every school. So she did push that quite heavily. I don't know if you've seen the VET framework, but it's worth having a look at some of the recommendations in that. Career and career education focus is clearly stated in it. At the state level, we have developed the Year 3 to 6 of VCCF. That's some of our work from last year. My understanding is that it was launched last year. I'm not sure how many schools have picked it up, but we'll certainly be doing some work around that later for the conference. And we have been speaking to the Minister of Education pre-election, and we're about to speak to him again now at post-election, always raising the need for quality career education services and professional delivery of those services in our schools. So you can rest assured that we have a strong advocacy group, and we have been heavily promoting your work at all levels of government. The newest thing for you to try and get your head around, I haven't quite got my head around all of this either yet, but CICA, the Career Industry Council of Australia, who is the national professional industry body that we're a member of, has introduced a CICA registration process. And this is really a direct result from the survey that they conducted about 12 months ago, and again a little bit earlier, where they asked about people's interest in a registration process, and an overwhelming support for a registration process. So they've come up with, I should say, 3 categories, not 4. The affiliate category doesn't really affect our members. This is an area where CICA is seeking to bring some quality assurance measures to job services, to recruitment agencies, to people who hang out shingles and call themselves career practitioners. By allowing them to join at that affiliate level, it does bring the professional standards and code of ethics into play. This is not a category that our members would necessarily aim to join. But certainly if you go onto the CICA website, you will see the categories that are available. And for our members, the two categories that may be of interest to you is the professional and the certified professional, most likely. We have 480 deemed professionals as members recognised by CECA as professionals. So those individuals might want to apply directly for registration with CECA, and you're welcome to do that. You will need to just identify yourself as a CEAB member first. Now, the certified professional is a new category, and this is for those individuals with a higher education degree in careers and extensive experience. CECA has 12 member associations, including rehab services, including higher education, including elite athletes. And there are a number of those associations that have members that would prefer to be acknowledged as a certified professional. So that category has been introduced to capture those individuals. Now, the information is on the CECA website. I encourage you to have a look at it. There will be a briefing paper sent out by the President at some stage this year, and he will outline the different categories and how you can go about applying. But my understanding is that you'll be able to very shortly seek CECA registration directly with CECA. Okay, and what that, in terms of, I think you'll recall that we used to send out the CECA registration certificates. They no longer will come from us, they'll come directly from CECA, providing you're registered with them. So there is a fee involved in that, so you'll need to have a look at that and see if that suits you. Okay, so I think that I'm happy to take any questions so far if anyone has any questions. All right, so I'm conscious of the time and I want to hand it over to VTAC, so they'll take the last half hour or so of the session this afternoon. So thank you, Michael and Suzanne.
Thanks very much, Bernadette, and thank you to the CEAV for inviting us to be part of this webinar. We're very pleased with how the webinars have been going in the past, and we're excited about continuing the webinars into the future. So what I'll do is just very quickly talk about myself, and then we'll go on to a quick update from VTAC for the start of the year. So as Suzanne mentioned, I'm replacing Adrian Blades as a Public Relations Coordinator, Schools Liaison. I've worked for about 4 years with Victorian schools while I was at the Debaters Association of Victoria, and I most recently worked for a year for the Department of Education in the Philippines as part of an AusAid program, and I've recently started at VTAC as the Public Relations Coordinator. The important thing for you all to know is that the contact details for any kind of schools liaison queries will be the same. That schoolsliaison@vtac.edu.au address, which goes to the whole schools liaison team, and the phone number as listed on the slides. Contacting the schools liaison address rather than anyone personally is the best way to get your query answered fastest in case anyone's out of the office or in a meeting or on the road. All right, so we'll move on now to give you a quick snapshot of the application period here. Okay, Bernadette, I can't seem to change the slides anymore. Here we are. Perfect. Okay, so applications numbers are on the screen, as you can see. There was, as usual, a very small increase in the number of domestic current Year 12 applications as the size of the cohort increases. And SEAS applications and scholarship numbers do remain strong, highlighting the importance of careers practitioners in making sure that these applications are completed thoroughly and correctly. And we're running some webinar series later in the year on how to best complete these processes. This statistic at the bottom of the slide here on change of preference is something that we've asked the IT department to prepare for us this year, just to highlight the large number of applicants, more than 50%, who do change their course preferences after the release of the ATAR. And that does highlight the importance of careers professionals' role in providing careers counselling to students. So that might be something useful for you to take back to your careers groups and in turn to the schools. To talk very briefly about the rest of the year, as Bernadette's flagged, we are going to continue the webinar series, and those dates and topics are already available in the CEAV calendar online in the member lounge, with the first webinar being on March 11th about preparing for CEES and another VTAC update. The briefings will continue as usual in the metro and regional areas. There was a review of the briefings conducted last year by Adrian, and I'll be implementing some recommendations from him. In particular, we're going to broaden the regional briefing sessions to make them more inclusive for non-Year 12 applications, and that's something that we're quite excited about. There will also be some new course link features added as part of a redevelopment that Adrian has proposed, and I'll be overseeing that project. So I'll move on now to talk about the VFE rule change, which has been previously advised at the end of 2013 and in Gazette since then, most recently in the VTAC Gazette published yesterday online and spread via the blog and a direct email. So the new rule is that VCE and VCE VET results will take precedence over VFE block credit results. The implications of this are that VFE block credit can still be used as an increment for the ATAR, but only if there are no pre-existing VCE or VCE VET studies. So if a student has done 6 VCE subjects, then the block credit will not be used. If they've done 5 or fewer, then there may be increments used, assuming that the block credit has been approved by the VCAA. If you have any questions about the eligibility of students for VFE block credit, they should go to the VCAA, who are the body that approves whether or not they can count towards the VCE. So if that's approved by the VCAA, then it's eligible to be used in the calculation of the ATAR. VTAC doesn't control whether or not it's approved. That's all done through the VCAA. We have had a couple of queries already about that, and sometimes if you talk to the VCAA and say ATAR, they'll refer you to us, but the thing to ask about here is block credit recognition, and I'll paste the link now in the chat room for the VCAA page about block credit recognition. Basically, it either has to be entered on VAS or applied for separately using their form. And once that's done, and it's approved by the VCAA, it may be used in the calculation of the ATAR if there is still room in the study program for that to happen. All right, we might leave questions about these until the end of the webinar, and I'll let Suzanne talk now about the student ID and the VTAC guide.
Thanks, Michael. Can everyone hear me first of all? Can I just have a little show of hands, please? Okay, excellent. That's fine, that's fine. Okay, that's good. Okay. I just wanted to raise something that we spoke briefly about last year. Under the new national privacy legislation, we've been running on a bit of borrowed time by using the VCAA student ID as the access point for students applying through VTAC. So traditionally, the VCAA student number has also been the allocated VTAC ID for all of your Year 12 students. Unless something dramatically changes in a meeting that I'm going to in the next couple of weeks between all the solicitors, VTAC will be allocating a separate VTAC number for all of your VCE students. So what this means is they won't be able to use their VCAA student number to log into CourseLink or to be allocated to them as a student number on the course application or registration process. Now, what does this mean for you guys? Well, it means that students are going to have to remember another number if we can't get any resolution, and of course that's going to be a little bit problematic. It also means that students won't be able to log in and their programs won't be available on CourseLink anymore because we cannot use the VCAA number, a government number, for our own purposes. So we're looking at alternatives for that and to broaden the CourseLink student access so that it's more readily available, but there won't be the ability for students to create accounts and log in using the VCAA number. The other service that it's going to affect, and this is possibly the most dramatic one, is the joint ATAR and results service. Because students can't use the VCAA number to access VTAC information, we're looking at ways in which we can provide a service that's the least complicated for students, hence the all the solicitors getting together and all the heads of VCAA and VTAC getting together. So we're trying to work on that, but we just wanted to give you the heads up that we may not be able to use the VCAA student number, and this will have implications for CourseLink, for the ATAR and results service, and also for, not so much for your records on CourseLink, because we can include the VCAA student number on CourseLink with the VTAC ID, but we just can't use it for people to log into our services and that sort of thing. Are there any questions? Oh, I'll untalk. Do I take that to be that there are no questions about that it makes sense? Show of hands, please. Why the changes again? Okay, the question is why the changes again. The change again, Anthony, is because under the national privacy legislation, it's illegal for any organisation to use a government identifier as its own identifier for its own purposes. So what that means is that we currently use the VCAA student number, and that is the VTAC ID. So students log in to VTAC once they've registered using what is the VCAA student number as their VTAC ID. That was illegal last year, but we were investigating it, so we had a 12-month pass on it. But at this stage, it doesn't look like we're going to get a pass on it for this year. So that means that all VCE students will be allocated a very separate VTAC ID for all of their dealings with VTAC. This is not something of our making. The VCAA student number was a much simpler way of proceeding, but this is us obeying the law. Any questions? Okay. Just a reminder to everybody that this is the last year of the printed guide in its current format. We've put a proposal to the management committee to produce an e-guide that will be available for public sale. We'll know more about that after next Friday week's meeting, but the plan is to have an e-guide available for download this year that is readable online and offline. When you're online, you'll be able to check for updates, new and cancelled courses and the like. When you're offline, you'll just have the information as it was produced at that point in time. And the information will be a little bit broader than what's currently in the printed guide as well. So this is the last year of the printed guide in its current format. We are looking to print something next year, that includes applicant information, institutional information, course lists possibly, but the issue is that after this year we're looking to go to year-round offers. So that means applications will be open at various points throughout the year, and students, it won't be just all about the main round, it will be main round and then there'll be offers and applications taken throughout the rest of the year, hence the transition. Next year we're also looking with our e-guide to set up a subscription service, so individuals will subscribe to VTAC, and then whenever there's a change to the VTAC e-guide, you'll be sent a new update. So at all times, whenever you download the new update, you'll have the most up-to-date information, including new courses, an indicator for cancelled courses, and any amendments that have been made. So we're just taking the ePub step by step, and this year, as I said, we're broadening the pilot and making it available for sale at a very reasonable introductory offer, so to speak. So we're hoping that schools support that as well. Any questions? Okay, finally, and this isn't on here, but it's just something I want to allude you to. Remember, for a number of years I've been talking about moving student access CourseLink across to CourseSearch. Well, it's in the infancy, but plans are underway to develop something. I don't know for sure if it'll be available this year, but it will definitely be available next year. But fingers crossed we'll be able to get some of it implemented when Course Search opens for main round 2016, which will be in early August. So that means that Course Search will have a prerequisite search function available in it, and hopefully more and more applicants will use it than are currently using the student course link. Any questions about that? You're all so quiet.
I think you stumped them. You stumped them, Suzanne. I mean, I'm going to ask a question about cost. Is that okay, Suzanne? Can I do that?
You can ask. I won't say
until... I don't know if you're going to give me an answer. The e-guide will be available for public sale. Will that be like in the App Store, or will it...
Yes, it'll be available for sale through iBooks and Google Books. We did pilot this last year, and iBooks and Google Books covers all devices, and it'll be available at a very reasonable cost, a lot cheaper than the printed book if my recommendation gets through. So actually it'll be less than half than the printed book if my recommendation gets through.
Well, that's great, because that might make it accessible to, you know, a lot more students in terms of having it readily available 24/7. You know, perhaps some of us that aren't as tech savvy might struggle a little bit with it, but we'll certainly get used to it.
Bernadette, downloading a book is as simple as 3 clicks.
That's right.
The main issue last year was with the rendering, and that means how long it takes to load. And Alex and Bella have been working on that so that we're trying to get it to a point where it takes no more to load than if you were looking at a film clip on or a video clip on YouTube or something like that.
I have every confidence in you, Suzanne. I'm sure you'll have
all the students will be able to do this with their eyes closed.
Good on you. Well done. Yeah, that's great. Any questions from the room, guys? Even if you've got some. Oh, we've got one from Faye down there. She said, new name for this combo deal she's got there.
Combo deal. Can you elaborate? What do you mean by combo deal, Faye? Can you just elaborate? Oh, no. Yeah, okay. No, Course Search will be Course Search and Course Link will be Course Link. Course Link will be for the teachers, which was always our intention. It's such a good and solid brand, we didn't want to get rid of it. And Course Search will be for students. There'll just be various components of Course Search. Thanks, Faye. Any other questions about anything to do with VTAC? What we don't know, we can always make up.
I think we've got a lot of members in this afternoon without microphones. Am I correct in saying that? Just give us a little smiley face. I've got quite a few members, I think, that don't have mics on their headphones.
Please feel free then to post a message or post a question, as have Anthony and Faye, because that's a really good way to communicate as well.
There's a question there for you, Suzanne, from Faye. She's asking, can you tag pages on an e-guide?
Faye, you can bookmark pages on an EPUB. You can highlight and you can tab. So it's just a matter of knowing how to do that, and we'll be providing really clear instructions, not for the students because they all know how to do that, but for the careers practitioners.
Okay, so we've got Deb who'd like to take the microphone. So Suzanne, if you could turn yours off, and Deb will be able to take it. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. I was wondering, when you're talking about Course Link, there's a Course Link that my Year 10 students use themselves. Are you talking about getting rid of that particular section?
Faye, we're not talking about getting rid of it. We're talking about moving it across to Course Search. This is something we've been planning for a number of years. CourseLink has primarily, our usage statistics show that of all the Year 10s, 11s and 12 students, it only gets about a 2% usage. and I'm really pleased to hear that your school uses it and that your students use it. But the reality is that careers teachers primarily use it with the students when they're counselling them, which will still be possible through Course Search, but that individuals don't actively go in and use the program unless they're sitting down with a careers practitioner. We've surveyed a number of students and a number of people across years, and this comes back consistently. We're hoping that by broadening it, still be free, it'll still be available on Course Search, but hopefully it'll have a greater profile than it has currently on CourseLink.
Am I right in saying then that it will give an opportunity then for parents to go in and actually do some what-if scenarios with the students, given that all the information is there now sitting under Course Search, which will be open to the public?
That's exactly the point, Bernadette. We want to make it more publicly available so that parents can go in and do what-if scenarios with their sons and daughters. Long term, we're also looking to broaden that prerequisite function to also include adults returning to study, so to be built on as a much bigger counselling tool that's freely available to assist not only year 10, 11 and 12 students, but also adults who have been out of school for a couple of years or for 10 years. So it will still be available. The only thing that will significantly change, and again this is to do with the privacy, is you know how in the past students could log in and their VCU programs would automatically appear? At this point we're struggling to work out how we might do that, but that's something we're still working on and liaising on with government authorities to see if we can somehow match the information so that it's there. Otherwise students will have to, you know, create scenarios each time they go in.
Okay, so have we got any other questions for Suzanne and Michael from the floor? Because we're just about ready to finish off now. But it's been a very informative session. We have got a comment there from Wendy Taylor. It would be if they could do it once and then save the subjects. Would that, perhaps, Suzanne, that's a question for you?
In a non-real world, that would be good, but then what do they register it against? Do they register it against their name? They can't register it against their student number. That means we'd have to create student numbers for them. Would that be the same student number as the student number they use to apply for a BTEC registration? It's a real database nightmare, and suddenly not having access to the VCA student number provides us with a number of problems that we need to identify. But stage one will be rolling out. Oh, they can email it to themselves. Tassie, bang it on the wall here. They will be able to email it to themselves. Can still export from CourseLink using the short... Yeah, they can still export from Course Search, Michael, using the shortlist function. So they'll be able to export it. They just won't be able to save it and log back in for the time being. But that's something we're looking at solving, but it may not be solved this year.
Okay, so we do we have any more questions for Suzanne or Michael? I think they've given a very thorough explanation in terms of the changes to the student ID and privacy issues. We all have to work within this really quite restrictive framework. Certainly it's something that CEOV has had to come up against, and that's why solicitors are so important. And that's a good career path for some of you to advise your students to take up. We need more lawyers to deal with all the privacy issues and the IP issues.
Really, Bernadette?
Yeah,
more lawyers?
I think we need more lawyers to get it right. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you for, oh look, we've got another question from Faye. We've got a little bit of time late because she's out in Namurka there, up there, Faye. Good on you. So we've got a question there. Plans for explanatory YouTube clips for Course Search link for students. Suzanne, this is something that you've been talking about. Is it still on the card?
Look, We are planning, but I'm not sure what you're asking there, Faye. Are you saying about how to use Core Search? Can you just respond in the message? Okay. That is something we actually spoke about today, funnily enough. How to use Core Search, how to get the best out of Core Search. That is something we would be looking at. Like everything, we're a team of how many of us are there? 6, 7, 8 of us. And resourcing the production of that is always an issue, but it is planned. Whether we get it done in time for applications opening, we might have to make a decision whether to continue with the briefings or to produce the videos. So I think we'd continue with the briefings and then produce the video a bit later, as we did with some of the others last year. So it is in the works, but it's about resourcing the production.
Okay, so it looks as though we're getting there. We've got thank you for updates, piloted e-guide, and it took me a while to use it efficiently. Students adapted quickly, and that's right, Sue. I think students are teaching us so much as we get through. It's wonderful to hear that you've been able to adapt it and use it. And I don't know necessarily that we have to shy away from these changes. I think change is constant, as we know. It's one of the first of the 5 high principles in career development, and it's something that we just need to get our heads around, and we can all do it because we're learning. Learning is ongoing for us. So thank you very much, Suzanne and Michael, and welcome, Michael, to VTAC. We look forward to staying connected with you, meeting you in person at the briefings. We'll look forward to that. Certainly looking forward to the webinar series as we go through, and perhaps Suzanne, if you're able to come to the conference again this year, because I know your sessions were very well attended last time you were at the conference, that might be something that VTAC might like to also consider for later in the year. So wonderful. And thank you to the regional presidents for being with us this afternoon. It's great to have you on board. One of the things that we are talking about hopefully is the possibility of the regional presidents face-to-face forum. This is something that we've been talking to the department about. I think that there's merit in offering an opportunity for all the regional presidents to come together for some professional development as a group. Can I just see if people would be interested in something like that, so I can certainly give that feedback to the department. If you think that a face-to-face regional president's briefing, similar to the one that was held last year and the year before, is that something that people would be keen to attend? Yep, looks like I've got a few hands up. Great, I'll take that back to the department as a resounding yes, because with any luck, if I bring that back to them, they may consider that as an opportunity for them also to brief us on any new initiatives that they may have in our space. So that's fantastic. We've got a quick question from Deb there. Regional VTAC briefings, how late in August for Shepparton, please? There we go. That one's for you, Suzanne.
We're just finalising the, and Ben stuff, so everyone wants to know now. We're just finalising, when I say we, Michael and Tassie are finalising the schedule at the moment, and they should have something out in the next week or so. Bairnsdale Sue will be around the same time as it was last year. Shepparton, I think, I can't remember. Michael, do you remember? Oh, good. Wednesday the 12th of August for Shepparton. And we've actually contacted the schools in Shepparton. We're not going to go through any of, but Michael will have something out over the next week with the briefing sessions. And as Michael mentioned, we are looking at restructuring the parent seminars so that they include, they're broader than just the parents in particular regional targeted areas, and they include members of the local community. So we're hoping that that provides some support for non-school based applicants as well. So we're looking to work with schools on that, and we're really excited about that, so thank you.
There we go, we've got the 2 dates up there for you. Gosh, that team's quick. Monday the 20th of July for Bairnsdale and Wednesday the 12th of August for Shepparton. So some dates there for your calendars. So thank you very much, VTAC. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tassie. Thanks to the regional presidents. I will close the recording now. We'll leave the room open for just 1 minute. To exit the room, all you need to do is close your browser, and that will leave you out of the room. Can we just have a round of applause for our speakers this afternoon? I think it's great to see that they connected with us again, as they always do, and we do appreciate the support we receive from VTAC. They do make our job a lot easier, and they've always been very supportive of the CEAB. So thank you very much once again. I'll leave the recording to stop now,